Look at all these animal tracks right here. Woo, doggies. We could track those all day. Turkey tracks. Hey, what are you guys doing here? It's outside. It's frigid New England weather. You guys are supposed to be warm in Acapulco. I figured this might be the only way I can get you outside.
Hi.
Now, if you're asking, did Rich bring us out here to make fire and split wood and build shelters and tie knots? No. That you can see on my vlog. Today, I got something special cooked up just for you. So, in today's presentation, we're gonna see a lot of things that I couldn't do from stage. If I was there in person, which I'm sorry I can't be, I got a schedule conflict. If I was there in person, you couldn't see all the things I'm about to show you. And first, let's have a little talk and set the stage, as it were, for this concept of the individual surviving and thriving amidst a world of ever-growing tyranny. Let's learn more. Greetings in Acapulco. My name is Richard Grove. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you to the organizers. I brought you guys outside today because the topic of my discussion has to do with creating a world independent of tyranny. And the story starts with the individual. The individual and the struggle to survive and thrive in nature. To gain the knowledge, the experience, the skills, the intestinal fortitude to be able to survive and be self-reliant. And then to come together with other people, volitionally, to work together to create community and society. Where we live today, where we live in space and time, 2022, it's gotten really complicated. Many of the institutions that surround us and have power over our lives are ill understood. So I wanted to bring you outside to start with the basics. We need certain things to survive in this world. We need the will to survive on the bottom of the pyramid. Then we need some essential knowledge. And then we need experience and skills. Then we need some resources and tools. And only then can we surmount this pyramid and learn how to survive and thrive. Well, the same that applies out here applies inside. So in a moment, we're going to go inside. We're going to learn about the individual parts, how they fit together, how to survive and thrive as an entrepreneur, as an employee, as a parent, as a friend, as a human being. But I wanted to bring you out here because the essential elements that apply for survival out here, the knowledge that we gain from schooling, it's not really knowledge. The will to survive gets adversely affected by having ill knowledge. It keeps us in fear, it keeps us from getting experience. And we're denied access to tools, and thus we have what we have here in the world, a failure to communicate. And I think with a little communication today, we're gonna learn a lot about critical thinking, about bringing that understanding to the market, and how to get this fact-based, truth-based reality based on things that actually exist back into the public society. So let's go to my office. I want to start with the individual parts that are some essential books for understanding how the world works. And with that, we'll start our journey. All right, I promised you something different. I've never done this before at any of the other presentations or talks that I've given. This is my workspace. This is where I answer email. This is where I edit video. This is where I record some audio. This is where I do tutorials. But this is also where I keep some of these books here that are the good individual parts that one needs to start formulating a coherent understanding not only of the problem, but something that leads us toward the solutions in life. So let's check them out. So for me, really, the individual parts started coming together when I started reading books that were off the beaten path, that weren't prescribed to me by school or university or even my employers. I started reading and pursuing my own interests. And what I discovered was there's a lot more credibility to these sorts of concepts that we're going to be discussing. The undermining of the individual through the school system and taking away education, the usurping of independent liberty through non-profit foundations that from the top down change our society. It all starts with reading a few good books to build that knowledge layer above the will to survive. So let's take a look at a couple of these individual parts that I find to be very insightful as to how the world works. All right, let's start here with the financial shelf real quick. Baron Philippe, that's a memoir of Baron Philippe de Rothschild. The Fifth Man by Roland Perry. This is about Victor Rothschild. He's a famous spy in the Cambridge Five. He's the fifth man. These copies are really valuable, so I keep them in a bubble wrap. House of Rothschild by Niall Ferguson, 2-volume set. Amos Elon, founder. This is about Meyer Amschel Rothschild. Whims of Fortune, Guy de Rothschild. Edmund de Rothschild, A Gilt-Edged Life. Very interesting man, Edmund de Rothschild. Baron James de Rothschild, the Rothschild family, another Rothschild family history. Egon Corti wrote these 2-volume set here. The Rise of the House of Rothschild and The Reign of the House of Rothschild. You got Richard Davis's English Rothschilds. You've got the French Rothschilds. You've got the elusive Rothschild. You've got the Magnificent Rothschilds by Cecil Roth. He also wrote A Bird's Eye View of Jewish History. You've got Five Men of Frankfurt. It's about the Rothschild founding members. Rothschild Family History by Derek Wilson. The Rothschilds and the Land of Israel by Simon Schama. Very interesting book. Bronfman Dynasty, they're partners of the Rothschilds. Bronfman means liquor man, I believe. The Rothschilds at Waddesdon Manor. One Voice by Judith Rothschild Bloomberg. And then one of my favorites, A Casual View of America. These are the home letters of Solomon de Rothschild in the 1860s, right as the Civil War kicked off. You might have seen a Smart Reads that I've done on that effect. And let's move up to the next shelf. This is more Anglo-American establishment up here. This is Blood, Class, and Nostalgia, Anglo-American Ironies by the late Christopher Hitchens. Molecular Vision of Life. This is how the Rockefeller family turned a bad name like eugenics into a clean name like molecular biology, spawning MIT, Caltech, Rockefeller, nonprofit foundations' control over human DNA. Colonizers' Model of the World, along with Citizens of the World, Politics of World Federation. These are global government books. And then you've got the Cecil Rhodes, Anglo-American Establishment, Carol Quigley types of books here. Tragedy and Hope 101, Evolution of Civilizations by Quigley. Third British Empire by Alfred Zimmern. This was Quigley's whistleblower. The Pan-Angles, a plan for English-speaking dominance over the world. Anglo-American Establishment, of course. The epic tome by Carol Quigley, published posthumously. Double Cross System, how MI6 ran American intelligence, knew about Pearl Harbor, August 1941. This is by the former Masterman, was the former head of MI6. It's a great piece of artifact there. New World Order by Sean Stone. I wrote the foreword for that. History of the Rhodes Trust. More Rhodes books. This one's Citizens of the World. This is The World since 1939. This is the edited version of Tragedy and Hope by Quigley. Quigley's Weapon Systems and Political Stability, A History. This is a great book. But this one I wanted to point out. Rothschild and Early Jewish Colonization. Fantastic biographical and autobiographical information in that book. If we move up one notch, the Opium Wars, the British Empire controlling the world through the East India Company and opium, the Opium Monopoly by Lamont, the Old China Trade by Dulles, huge, Hidden History by Doherty and McGregor, Lord Milner's Second War, Woodrow Wilson era, History of the British Secret Service, America and the Great Game and the Mighty Wurlitzer. Read those two books together to understand America's role with British intelligence. And then, yeah, that's basically it for up here. But let's go on, move on to the next bookshelf that holds key information. These are the essays of T.H. Huxley, the Huxley family, his protege and mentee, H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells' Experiment on Autobiography, 2-volume set. This is where he talks about his work with the Rhodes Roundtable people, the Fabian Socialists. A lot of other Aldous Huxley works, but I wanted to point out this book. H.G. Wells' New World Order. It's not just an open conspiracy. Wells wrote this book for the elite, for the other people on the shelf, writing other parts of the plan. He was one of the constructors of that which I've pointed out now in my research for 15 years. Go to the top shelf up here. These are the foreign relations of the United States during World War II. This is the Round Table, the British Round Table. The Anglo-American establishment had a history. These volumes represent that history in detail. Before World War I, all the way up almost to when the Americans get into World War I, were covered. Lord Grey's autobiographical works and the intimate papers of Colonel House, 4-volume set by Charles Seymour. These are essential elements. Those elements right there were used in James Corbett's World War I conspiracy. I also wanted to introduce you guys to this document. Now, this is an actual framed copy of the pamphlet Toward a New World Order, The Future of NATO by George Soros, 1993. And the reason I'm pointing out this specific document for you is because I've included it as part of the free downloads in the special curriculum we prepared for all participants and ticket holders of ANARCHAPULCO. So that's one of the many free things that you're going to find valuable, because it's hard to actually find that document, and I think you deserve a copy. I'm showing you this because I'm telling you, they have a plan for your life. What's your plan for your life? All right, let's take this quick opportunity to learn how to learn anything. We call it the Trivium method, but really it's input, processing, and output. The traditional language is grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And the grammar is the individual parts. The logic's how they fit together. The rhetoric is how to use and troubleshoot any device, any subject. Let's take into account the individual parts. Let's look at a couple individual parts. We just heard about a bunch of individual parts, but reading the books is not enough. You have to think critically about what you're reading. I have a saying that goes something like this. Literacy is a form of slavery until a methodology of critical thinking is exercised consistently by the reader. Because if you don't consistently exercise the critical thinking aspect of it, you're really under control of that authoritative text. So to learn to think for yourself is to learn how to know yourself, know your environment, be, survive, and thrive in the world. Let's take a look at a couple of these books that I've prepared ahead of time. Let's use the book cam here, and let's switch over and look at something like this. This is the World Economic Forum, a partner in shaping history the first 40 years. If you want to understand the type of people that are shaping the history that you're living in right now, look at what these cats have done over the past 40, now 50 years, I think. And so looking at World Economic Forum as just a beginner. But wait, there's more. You've got World Economic Forum's Building an International Institution for Public-Private Cooperation by Klaus Schwab. You've got the follow-ups to that. The Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab. And it's in this index right here, this appendix called Deep Shift, that Klaus talks about implantable technologies for human beings. So that's part of the plan that they have for your future. Now, you can also read Shaping the Fourth Industrial Revolution by Klaus Schwab, but I think particularly given the cooperation of Agenda 21 with the World Economic Forum, that this new book that has everybody step into it, COVID-19, The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab. Look at that. Right when the pandemic came out, Klaus Schwab's got something to say. So it's only by not listening to the news, but really, it's about learning. There's this person out there who's having say over a lot of people's lives right now. Let's figure out who he is and who he represents and where did this organization come from. And if you look into the origins of the World Economic Forum, you'd see something like this. Limits to Growth, the report of the Club of Rome's project on predicament of mankind. You can see that follow-up, Limits to Growth, the 30-year update. These people are planning for your future. They're actively writing about it. You can read in the First Global Revolution report by the Council of the Club of Rome that humanity is the problem and their solution is going to be not having you. It's about depopulation. It's about cybernetics and transhumanism. It's about a bunch of things that all the 1,000 corporations that head up the World Economic Forum, the front end of the Bilderberg Group, that's what they care about. That's how they're planning your future, doing these sort of things. Now, last but not least, this section would not be complete if I did not take time and fortitude to show you a couple other much more rare and important artifacts. This is The Last Will and Testament of Cecil John Rhodes, with elucidatory notes edited by William T. Stead. This is from the Review of Reviews library. There's Cecil John Rhodes. Here is the title page. Zoom in on it for you. The Last Will and Testament of Cecil John Rhodes, with elucidatory notes to which are added some chapters describing the political and religious ideas of the testator, edited by William T. Stead, or Stead as some might say, and this is from 1902. This is William T. Stead's actual copy of this book. In this book, which we don't have time to dip into, I just want you to know it exists. This book contains artifacts because this is the last will and testament of Cecil Rhodes. In here, Stead and Rhodes are declaring that they need America back into the British Empire. But that sounds like a crazy idea, and maybe this guy didn't have any influence on the world, which is why I would bring to bear this piece of evidence. Tragedy and Hope, A History of the World in Our Time by Carol Quigley, 1966. This book, and it is about 1,300 pages, has several pages scattered throughout in which Quigley is disclosing who is this globalist internationalist order, what are their goals, what are their aims, how do they work, how are they shaping the world we lived in for the past century, and how, we might ask, are they shaping the world today? Big book. Most people don't have time to read it, so I would recommend Joe Plummer's Tragedy and Hope 101. This summarizes Tragedy and Hope, the big book, plus the Anglo-American Establishment by Quigley. Those are summarized here in Plummer's Tragedy and Hope 101. And for good measure, Sean Stone's New World Order. I wrote the 30-page foreword for this book to give context to what Sean was setting up and what was his thesis for his Princeton history degree. You might also check out the Pilgrim Society and Public Diplomacy. And I also had, for good measure, Technocracy Rising, because this goes into the cybernetics of transhumanism and all the other things we might encounter. With those individual parts and critical thinking, now we can start to have an understanding that might be worth communicating to somebody in a film, in a documentary, in a podcast, in a video. But how? How can we organize all this information? How can we organize this data in formation such that we could pass it on to others so they could readily understand and make more informed choices and actions in life? Also, Last but not least, there's a whole section of this library over here that has John Taylor Gatto's books, Charlotte Iserbyt's books, the whole downfall of American education, the transformation of that educational system and those systems into schooling, which is indoctrination. Indoctrination is declarative sentences which you think to be true without having to ask the questions and found the answers for yourself. That journey of curiosity, transcending through fear and ambiguity to find what is learned, that knowledge, that experience, that wisdom, that is denied to you purposely by the schooling system. Now comes the question, you've read the books, you understand the books, you're accumulating a lot more knowledge than you're used to handling. You're going to need a system of how to incorporate, encapsulate, correlate this causality that you're now coming to understand. Where can you store it? How can you share it? Where can you keep your resources for easy future reference? Let's check out the History Blueprint. All right, in this last part, before we get to the solutions, right? We talked about the problems. I substantiated the problems. The evidence exists. You now know how to find it. Then we're going to work on solutions for the rest of my talk. But this part, this is where it all comes together. This is where I have encapsulated my learnings since 2008 in this particular model. I started researching in 2001, so that was 21 years ago. I started producing media in 2006, so that's like 16 years ago. And I started this in 2008. The History Blueprint is made with the Brain software. TheBrain.com has free personal thought orienting and mapping software. I just happen to have 10,000 entries in mine with 50,000 links, all specifically detailing the history of globalism, the New World Order, that which is seeking to eradicate freedom and economic prosperity for the greatest number of people on this planet now and into the future. This plan's been in action for over 100 years. The Club of Rome, which is what's on screen, it came around pretty early in this, like 1967 as compared to today. It was the progenitor idea of the World Economic Forum. So if you want to see what Klaus and the boys are all about at the World Economic Forum, look back to the Davos Manifesto. And I can actually show that to you on screen real quick. Here in the World Economic Forum's first 40 years, we can go back to 1973. We can zoom in to see the Davos Manifesto. So aside from having His Royal Highness Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands, a former SS officer for Hitler's Nazis, two developments distinguished this Davos meeting. First, Aurelio Pace, the Italian industrialist, delivered a speech summarizing The Limits to Growth, a book that had been commissioned by the Club of Rome, a global think tank that he founded and served as its first president. The study had caused a sensation after its publication in 1972, calling into question the sustainability of global economic growth. Then it goes into their love for Malthus and their code of ethics, but I just wanted you to see that the manifesto is brought to you by people who believe in population control, eugenics, and a whole lot of stuff that's not about freedom or justice or voluntary anything or non-aggression at all. At all. So being able to understand that, to be able to see clearly and start to connect the dots together, like I do in the History Blueprint, you can make your own similar model of whatever you're learning. I just happen to put it on some maybe suppressed history for the purposes of preserving it and precipitating it out there. From there, I take what I've learned and I've created media. My first podcast was the 9/11 Synchronicity podcast from 2006 to 2009. I did Peace Revolution from 2009 to 2018. I then launched the Autonomy course, which is instead of listening passively, it's actually doing and taking actions. It's like freedom through action, freedom through challenging actions. So to be able to stand at the point where I transitioned successfully from the corporate world into independent research, publication, and all that I've done over the past 16 years, took a lot of learning things for myself, organizing that data into formation, and then taking strategic action on it. Now let's look at some of the solutions from taking action and what value I'm bringing to you, the audience, through the rest of this talk. All right, in this studio, I do live streams pretty much exclusively for the Autonomy course. So I lecture in here Friday nights for about 6 hours. The Q&As I do over in the podcast studio in the library where we just were. In here, this is where I help people apply some of the things I learned when I was in college. So as a for instance, I joined a franchise to learn house painting while I was in college. I invested $5,000 into myself. I learned how to book jobs, how to hire and fire, how to do sales, how to do customer service, all these essential elements of entrepreneurism that I wasn't getting from my university degree. I then took those specific franchise skills, those sales skills, the customer service skills, and I used them in the high-tech industry, selling enterprise software to Fortune 500 companies around the world. I made $1 million in that career using those specific skills. But those aren't the only skills I teach in Autonomy. What I also teach you is how to survive and thrive and replace those elements of education that the Prussian schooling system removed from our body of schooling. To make everybody think alike and react alike, you have to take out the elements of individuality, of critical thinking, of creative problem solving. So we put those back in the Autonomy course as well. Why don't you listen to this graduate? Her name's Anna, and she can tell you better than I can. And then I'll be back to tell you guys what you get just for sitting in on this presentation. I know there's other fun things to do in Mexico. I want to make sure that you are rewarded for this experience. Let's go to Anna.
Ready for something crazy? If you spent time in the standard American school system from kindergarten through high school, you've spent 15,000 hours of your precious life in a classroom. Shocking. But yet, look at where we're at. Many of us feel totally ill-equipped to function in this crazy, overwhelming, hyper-competitive world. We get anxiety at the prospect of adulting, and entrepreneurship totally just feels like a pipe dream. This is the thing. I found a resource that has made the hugest world of difference for me and my journey of confidence, self-reliance, and success in an unpredictable world. It's called 19 Skills for Success That School Never Taught You. It's a free resource that I consider to be totally priceless and has taught me many of the skills I need to know to be flexible and to succeed in a world full of uncertainty. Who knows what the next few years could bring? I believe that you were made for more. And if you could succeed without these tools for self-reliance, wouldn't you have done it already?
As mentioned earlier, there's the George Soros document. You're getting that. You're getting a copy of the Ultimate History Lesson. You're getting some more information on how the American education system was corrupted. You're getting a link to my history blueprint. So if you saw it, you have a link to that. You're also getting our critical thinking trifecta course. It's going to teach you the Trivium method. So you do have some semblance of critical thinking and creative problem solving to move forward beyond today's presentation. Thank you guys, by the way, for attending, and shout out to all the Autonomy graduates here. Now, over the past 3 years, we've had 500 students pass through the Autonomy course. What's that give us? It gives us a huge labor pool of superb freelancers, of people with skills, with people who know how to work and play interchangeably with each other in a seamless way, culture of excellence. Being excellent to each other is one of the rules when you go through Autonomy. So we formulated a digital marketing agency and consulting group called Autonomy Unlimited. So it's different from the course. And what we do with Autonomy Unlimited is we help people in the freedom community, because the freedom community definitely has an offer to be made, but they don't know how to market it. They don't know how to get their offer to market. They don't know how to sustain themselves and be self-reliant without big tech. And big tech is censoring more and more. I said at my speech at 2017 PorkFest, this was going to happen. You need to get off on your own website and get off of these platforms and be able to sustain yourself. And then in 2019 at that conference, I showed people how to make their offer to the world. So all these things that we're bringing together, they're all for the purposes of extending freedom beyond our lifetime. What are we leaving for the next generation? We inherited a lot of freedom. And if we don't take the steps to put it back, if we don't put the energy in to put it back, there's not going to be freedom in the future generations. Not for my progeny, nor for yours. And I think we owe it to them to do the work now. And that means look around, understand, identify these parts, put them together, be able to communicate to other people. So with that, Autonomy Unlimited is helping freedom-oriented businesses and entrepreneurs take their offer to market in a successful way. We've had several clients in the past year with launches within like 60 days, bring in $200,000 for their operations, for their next conference, for the next modality of their product offering. Being able to sustain ourselves and fund the growth of the freedom community comes from us working together, helping each other where we can. And here's a few words from a successful client of ours who you might also know.
the level of professionalism that I experienced piqued my interest. And that's kind of what pushed me over the edge. I've been wanting to do online courses for a while. I did a call with the Autonomy Unlimited crew, Richard included, and there was like 9 people on the call. And I could tell everybody was totally connected and with it. And I just didn't have the capacity to do it myself. I'm always like, I want to build a team. I want to have a marketing department here and the tech guys over there and the web development over there. And I have all of that and more with the Autonomy Unlimited crew, and they're really with it and very easy to work with. I don't want to work with or pay people that I'm more skilled in certain areas. I want to pay people that have better skills than I do, so I can trust that it's the right stuff. And I feel like not only does it match my level, but it exceeds it. That's something that I'm looking for. I don't have to follow up and hold people accountable. Just the same with Joshua, it's been great working with him with that one-on-one relationship, and then he disseminates and makes sure that things get executed. Whenever I saw the first delivery of the landing page for my online workshop, I was really blown away. It was top-notch, totally professional. I think that you guys are just delivering a higher caliber of service and product. If you are looking to take your business or your side hustle to the next level, you're not going to be able to do it alone. You need a team. Just give it a try. And if you don't like it, then pull back. If you do like it, then lean into it.
And last but not least, you assemble your skills and knowledge and build a network and build your project out. But how do you get that offer to market? Well, what we've done is we've created the Autonomy Agora marketplace. It's a marketplace that has a variety of products ranging from free to high ticket products that are giving you a lot of value, more value than they're asking for in price. And they're all located in a central area. These are clients that we've helped either in production, marketing, or distribution of their product or service. There's a variety of things that Autonomy Unlimited does for the freedom community, for the entrepreneurs and the small businesses that are trying to stay alive and thrive against these big box World Economic Forum Great Reset coterie that is trying to crush freedom. We, the free people, we, the individuals, have to band together voluntarily, volitionally, non-aggressively, but we have to assert our rights as human beings. We have to assert our knowledge. And more importantly, we need to schedule our success. We need to take actions. We need to live beyond what we've been doing in 2020 and 2021 to rise to this occasion of 2022. So here's my call to action for you, the audience. I have built a specific, unique course just for ticket holders and people who have attended ANARCHAPULCO 2022. You can see the details on how to access that currently on screen. With that, you're taking a positive first step, not only to learn about what we talked about today, but to learn your way out of the illusions, to exit the rabbit hole with logic and reason. And by gaining some high value skills and learning how to make your offer to the world, your future is going to be a lot brighter than the dark winter that we've all been promised by the authorities. Thank you all for attending. If you're interested in learning more, my podcast is at grandtheftworld.com. You can find out more about autonomy at getautonomy.info/ignite. Or if you're a small business or entrepreneur who's liberty-minded, you can go to autonomyunlimited.com to learn more about our digital marketing, consulting, and how we take people from, I have a great idea and I want to take it to market, to, cha-ching, I just cashed in on that idea by bringing more value to my clients than I asked for them in price. All right, so whether you're outside trying to survive or you're trying to survive and thrive in the world of commerce and business and institutions of government and authority, it's the same sort of thing. You need the will to survive. You need to couple that will with some strong knowledge. You need to get experience and high-value skills. You need to align yourself with tools and resources and the network and community that you need. And then you're going to survive and thrive. You're going to be smoothing it in life. But it takes some methods, some strategies, some principles, some tactics that are evergreen, that never go out of style, that always work, whether you're out there trying to solve a problem or you're in here trying to solve problems. Voila! See that? It didn't take long at all. Now you guys have some knowledge of individual parts, critical thinking methods to put them together, how you can organize that into a conceptual model, how you can then publicize what you know and take it to market. You also now know about how to empower yourself with skills as an individual through autonomy, whether you want to be an employee or an entrepreneur. You know about Autonomy Unlimited and the things that we do for liberty-loving entrepreneurs in the freedom community. You also know about the Autonomy Agora marketplace, and that marketplace keeps getting more and more value. All these essential areas where we need to learn how to survive and thrive beyond what I teach in autonomy, those are what's in the Autonomy Agora. So thank you guys all for your time. And thank you, ANARCHAPULCO, and I turn it back over to the MC, Mr. Hancock. Thank you. Good night. Peace. Do you like coming out and filming?
Yeah,
Do you like being outside in the outdoors?
yeah.
Is it challenging to thrive and survive out here?
Maybe because when it's snowy, because you don't have that much tinder to make a fire. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for not dropping out. Now get autonomy.